How much money are NASCAR drivers being paid in 2019? Some of these numbers might surprise you. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric, and welcome to Out of the Groove. We're gonna have some fun today. It's a special show. Forbes released their, I guess pretty much yearly, list of the top 10 highest paid drivers in NASCAR. They combine things like salary, winnings, personal endorsement deals, all that type of stuff to kind of estimate the top 10 highest paid drivers in NASCAR. And now, I wanna look at this year's, 2019, because it was just released about a week ago, and these are all estimates because NASCAR does not publicly discuss driver contracts, at least not details such as how much money they're for and everything. So this is probably rough estimates, but Forbes is pretty accurate. They've been doing this for years now. But I want to compare this 2019 list with some of the older lists as well, specifically 2009. I figure that's about 10 years ago. Let's see how the 2009 list compares to the 2019 list, because that might be interesting. But needless to say, I'm going to run down this list here, look at the top 10 highest paid drivers, react to them, and I don't know, I guess we'll talk about it. Let's see how this goes. So here we are, Forbes NASCAR's highest paid drivers 2019, written by Kurt Badenhausen? I don't know. He apparently writes this article basically every year, so let's see here. In this article, he does mention how driver salaries and stuff like that have dipped in NASCAR over the last decade or so. He mentions how now there's only one driver in NASCAR who has a base salary of more than $10 million, whereas 5, 10, 15 years ago, there was a few more of those. In fact, he says right here, the top 10 earning drivers made a combined $116 million this year, which is 36% less than what they made 10 years ago. Anyway, let's scroll through this list. Number one, not too surprising here, Jimmie Johnson, $17.5 million total. You can see they've estimated $14 million came from his salary and winnings, and another $3.5 million from endorsements and licensing deals. Jimmie Johnson's one of those guys who still has a lot of deals with Chevrolet and everything that set him apart from others. I am a little surprised to see Johnson's made the most money in the last year, given that he didn't win any races last year, and 2018 was his worst statistical year of his career. It's a little surprising, but I mean, he's one of the few big recognizable names in NASCAR still around, you know, with Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. and everybody gone. Number two, Kyle Busch, not surprising at all, $15.8 million total, still a pretty good amount of endorsement money there. He was basically the most dominant driver most of last season in the Cup Series, didn't win the championship, obviously, but this doesn't shock me. M&M's, Mars Candy, definitely big in his camp. He signed an extension this year with M&M's, Mars. I think Interstate Batteries is going to continue to be kind of on the car here and there for several more years. So Kyle Busch, I expect him to be near the top of this list. Denny Hamlin, number three, kind of surprising. I bet that winning the Daytona 500 this year maybe helped that. I don't know how that factors into these numbers, but that definitely would help. That is, I would guess, one of, if not maybe second to the All-Star race, the highest paying race in NASCAR on the Cup Series set schedule. Denny Hamlin's got a lot of probably personal endorsement deals with FedEx, for one, FedEx being a huge partner for Denny Hamlin his entire Cup Series career, but also with the Jordan brand. I know I've heard Denny Hamlin kind of humble brag before that he has Michael Jordan's phone number on his cell phone, so having that connection to the Jordan brand, which is a part of Nike, I'm sure that's a nice little deal. Kevin Harvick, number four. Notice all the top people on this list are older, established, veteran drivers. That's not surprising. I think a lot of the reason we've seen a lot of young drivers jump into these good rides lately is because they cost a lot less money. Alex Bowman's not making what Dale Jr. is making. Eric Jones is not making what Matt Kenseth was making, you know, and so on. William Byron's not making Jeff Gordon money. I mean, that's just the truth. Neither is Chase Elliott. So it's interesting that, you know, the remaining star veteran drivers are still the ones at the top of this list making the most money. You're not seeing Eric Jones. You're not seeing William Byron or Daniel Suarez on here. Joey Logano at number five. He's making $11 million still. That's not bad. $11 million for a year is right up there with a lot of other major sports. I mean, baseball players, I don't know what's the average contract in Major League Baseball? I'm gonna look that up. Average yearly salary of MLB player. Yeah, the average baseball player only makes $3.4 million a year, according to Google at least. How about NBA? I'm sure it's more. Yeah, this is from Business Insider. It's 3 years old, but it says the average NBA player was making $6.4 million a year. So, you know, nice to know that the top NASCAR drivers are still getting paid above average compared to other major sports, because the NBA, you know, is obviously more popular than NASCAR. So good to see that at least. And Logano, defending champion, he should be getting paid as well as a lot of these big boys. So good for him. Again, I will compare this list to the list from 2009 for NASCAR because there is some pretty big differences. Might be interesting, but I'll do it at the end. Flying through here right now. Brad Keselowski at number 6, another guy over $10 million last year. Good for Brad, another veteran, another former NASCAR champion. And it's cool that they mentioned this in this article because I don't see this mentioned in a lot of other places, but Brad Keselowski did open up a manufacturing company recently. Like, he started it. He's like the founder or co-founder or something. Invested $10 million, it says. Basically invested a yearly salary in Keselowski Advanced Manufacturing. So you can do your research on that. I remember reading an article a few months about what they do. It's a lot of like 3D printing and manufacturing stuff. I don't know. Do your own research on that one but it sounds very interesting. It's, you know, Brad Keselowski investing outside of racing, but he's using the money that he's got from a successful career so far. Here we go. First quote-unquote, you know, new face, young driver in NASCAR on this list. Number 7, Chase Elliott. Most popular driver in the sport is 7th, is only the 7th highest paid driver. That's a little surprising right there. According to this article, it says his recent contract extension helped vault his salary up into the millions of dollars range. But also you see there, his licensed merchandise sales were highest among all drivers last season. Not surprising, most popular driver. That's why his endorsement deals, that's why his endorsement and licensing money is $2 million. That's up there with Kyle Busch and guys. So no surprise there. The fans are funding Chase Elliott because of how popular he is. A little surprised to see Kyle Larson up here so high. Number 8, Kyle Larson. He made $9 million last year. This is despite the fact that he mentions it here that DC Solar backed out, or, you know, they, I guess, didn't pay up, or I don't know what happened. I don't know if they made any. I don't know if DC Solar paid any money last year. I'm sure they probably paid some money up front, but from the sounds of things, Chip Ganassi Racing and some other people in NASCAR were kind of left hanging by them. And I'm surprised too, because how many races did Larson win last year? 0? Pretty sure it was 0. Is this factoring in his recent All-Star race win? It might be. That would boost these numbers a little bit. He doesn't get to keep all $1 million of those dollars he made, but I'm sure that would boost these numbers a little. You know, maybe Chip Ganassi's just paying him a really good salary so he doesn't leave that team and go to like Penske or something. Maybe that's what it is. I have no idea. Number 9, Martin Truex Jr. I'm sure he used to be lower on this list. I remember when he was with Furniture Row Racing, a lot of people were saying he was actually making a lot less money than some of the other top guys in NASCAR because Furniture Row just couldn't afford to pay him top money, and he was still winning races and obviously won a championship. So nice to see Truex making that money now that he's with Joe Gibbs Racing. But I am surprised to see someone like Truex so far down this list. Maybe that Joe Gibbs money hasn't kicked in quite yet, but to see him behind like Kyle Larson, a little surprising to me, I'll be honest. And number 10, rounding out the top 10 highest paid NASCAR drivers in the last year, Clint Bowyer made $7.3 million. Wow. I feel like this is a perfect example of, you know, kind of an older driver, a veteran driver who's been around a while, yes, seniority kind of, making that money, you know, making that, you know, he's been around a while, he's earned his money. I'm a little surprised guys like Ryan Blaney aren't maybe in the top 10, or Alex Bowman, or Kurt Busch even, who won races for Stewart-Haas last year and is with Chip Ganassi now, has got that Monster Energy endorsement, so I'm a little surprised Kurt's not on here. Or Almirola with that strong Smithfield backing. You know, I feel like Clint Bowyer has a lot of unsponsored or, you know, questionably sponsored races. I feel like I see Haas Automation on his hood a lot of times. But yeah, just a little surprising to me. He did win a couple races last year, made the playoffs, had a good run, made it deep into the playoffs, so I can understand Clint Bowyer being pretty high on this list, and he is a very familiar face to longtime NASCAR fans, so okay, I guess I understand. Not too shocking there, but there you have it. That is the top 10. Those are the top 10 highest paid NASCAR drivers from this last year. Now, I want to compare this list to 10 years ago, a decade ago, 2009. This was, you know, it was the Gen 5 era, early Car of Tomorrow, and this was back when we still had a lot of big names in the sport. Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards were racing in 2009, so the list is going to look very different, but I want to compare the highest earners back then with the highest earners today. Let's flip it over right here, and this is actually written by the same guy who wrote the one for this year, so he must do this every year, I suppose. Kurt Badenhausen, whatever, however you say his name. Cool, he does this and everything, but you'd think a guy who covers NASCAR yearly would know to capitalize all of NASCAR. It's an acronym. He keeps spelling it like this, with just a capital N. Come on, Kurt. It's NASCAR. It's an acronym. They're all caps. He does this all the time. I don't know why he keeps doing this in these articles. It's hard to read. Kind of hurts your credibility, to be quite honest with you. But anyway, let's look at 2009. No surprise. Top of the list, Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's an angry-looking pic of Dale Earnhardt Jr. I've never seen that one. Well, he shouldn't be too angry. He made $30 million in 2009. And now compare that to the highest paid driver from this last year, Jimmy Johnson. Let me scroll back up. Jimmy made $17.5 million versus $30 million made by Dale Jr. just 10 years ago. Now, if Dale Jr. was still racing in NASCAR today, I think he'd still probably be making more than $20 million. He'd be making more than Jimmy Johnson's 17.5. I would bet that. However, this does show you how NASCAR has gone from kind of being a sport that rivals. I mean, $30 million a year. I mean, a lot of the top guys in the NBA, top guys in the NFL are getting paid $30 million a year. Like, that's $30 million a year salary is right on par with the superstars of other major sports. So we've gone from that to a little lower. I'd still say NASCAR drivers still get paid very well. Jimmy Johnson, $17.5 million. That's still very good money for a top guy in top motorsports, but it's quite the decrease. Go quicker here, no surprise either. Jeff Gordon made $27 million that year. Scroll down, Jimmy Johnson made $23 million in 2009. See, here's a better comparison. Jimmy Johnson in 2009, in the middle of his championship streak, was making $23 million a year. 2018, 2019, he's making $17.5 million a year. Only not a huge decrease, obviously, a notable decrease, but not a huge decrease, especially given that Jimmy didn't win any races last year, whereas in 2009, this was in the middle of his 5 straight championship streak. So, not sure exactly what to make of that, but that is interesting. Tony Stewart, $19 million, not surprising there. Number 5, Carl Edwards. This is back when he still drove for Roush. Never won a championship, Carl Edwards, but $14 million, making that good money. So if I compare these two lists again here, Jimmy Johnson making $17.5 million last year, that would put him 5th on this list. He'd be ahead of Carl Edwards here, but he'd be behind Tony Stewart. So the highest paid NASCAR driver in 2019 it would be the 4th or 5th highest paid driver back in 2009. So, NASCAR has dropped a little bit. The money is not quite as prevalent as it once was. That's not quite as significant of a drop as I would have thought. I'm actually surprised looking at these 2018, 2019 salaries. I would have thought less drivers were making 17, 18 million. I would have thought most drivers were making $6, $7, $8 million from base salary. To see guys like Johnson still making more than $10 million from base salary, 17.5 total, that's a little surprising to me. I'm a little more optimistic than I would have thought. Kevin Harvick is at number 6. He made $13 million in 2009. What did he make this year again? He actually made $13.1 million. So actually, Kevin Harvick made slightly more money. Is making slightly more money now than he was in 2009. I guess he's a better driver, at least winning more now than he did in 2009. But so actually, Kevin Harvick's money went up. So it's interesting. The trends aren't as obvious as I would have thought. Kyle Busch made $12 million that year. Not too surprising. Similar to what he's getting paid now. Casey Kane made $12 million. Yeah, Casey Kane. He was a popular driver. I feel like people forget how popular Casey Kane was. Matt Kenseth made $11 million in 2009. He was he was the Daytona 500 winner that year. That probably boosted those numbers a little bit. And Mark Martin, wow, in 2009, Mark Martin was still making $11 million. That's what I'm saying. Veteran drivers often will keep making good money even well into their career. So I'm actually a little surprised to see Mark Martin in 2009. Who else would have been driving in 2009? Where's Biffle at? No Biffle? Was Denny Hamlin not on this list? How did Denny Hamlin go from not being in the top 10 at all in 2009 to all of a sudden, 3rd in 2019? I mean, Denny Hamlin was still pretty good in 2009. Okay, wow, Denny, that FedEx money just keeps getting bigger, I guess. Anyway, I hope you guys found that interesting. I thought it would be fun to kind of look through that and compare. Now that you go on Forbes here, they do have a list like this for pretty much every year from the last decade or so. So if you want to go in, check it out yourself, see how drivers have maybe gone up or gone down year to year, because I think that would be really interesting. But I just want to compare, one decade to this decade and see kind of in big scale at least how the money has changed. I know we've heard some drivers, I know Denny Hamlin's been pretty vocal about the last couple of years about how NASCAR's business model needs to change, how more money that comes from the billion-dollar TV contracts needs to go towards the race teams to help them out rather than going to the tracks or going to NASCAR itself. But yeah, it is just interesting to see how driver contracts have changed, or how the money at least the drivers are seeing have changed. It's obvious that I think going with some of these younger guys that we didn't see on the list for this year, like Alex Bowman or Eric Jones or Daniel Suarez, I think when Joe Gibbs, when Rick Hendrick, when Roger Penske makes these changes, decides to put some of these young guys in these cars, it's to save millions of dollars, as we're seeing. I mean, look at this. Jeff Gordon was making $27 million in 2009. Rick Hendrick only had to pay Chase Elliott $9 million in 2019. That's significant. I mean, sure, Chase Elliott's probably bringing in less sponsorship, so I don't know really how to think of this. There's a lot of finances going around here, but I thought it'd be interesting to compare. Hopefully you guys found that interesting as well. That's going to do it. That's my show. Kind of a special one-off episode. Just wanted to look at these lists and compare them with you guys. Thanks for watching. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram. Huge shout out again to my Patreon supporters: Michael Harrison, at Jeeves of the Stars, Mentally Defective, Cameron James, John Koblenz, Jason Arlong, Wesley Donaldson, Isaac Dennison, Mika Suzuki, iFantasyRace.com, TheRacingInsiders.com, Matthew Koulopoulos, Pepe Luscious, Jeremy Conkling, Joey DiMicino, Emilio Garcia, and the rest of these incredible supporters. I'm really getting good at memorizing these names. Even when we get new ones on here, I'm getting pretty good at it. Thank you guys so much for the support. Hope you guys are enjoying the show, and I couldn't do this without you all, so thank you. Got more episodes planned for this week. Still trying to catch up on some news. Like this article came out like a week ago. I wanted to do a video about it then, but I was out of town, so I'm still catching up on some things from the last week or so. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I got more videos planned for this week. Some more exciting things planned this summer. Some more things I want to announce very soon. So hope you guys stay tuned for that, because there are big things coming for this channel. Appreciate the support, y'all. See you again very, very soon.